ule ambaye mke wake anafanya kazi bwana waziri, na yeye mwenyewe anafanya kazi. Kwa hiyo bibi yangu, mke wangu amekatwa pesa na mimi nimekatwa pesa. Sasa mke wangu atapewa nyumba yake na mimi nipewe nyumba yangu, ama itakuwa namna gani?
So we will need you to address how are you going to stop or reduce the raid on our payslip
model, because there was the new funding model came in place to replace the old funding model, and you find today the students, we marched to the anniversary towers to question on the disbursement of the funds. We find that only a quarter of the students have received the funds. So we wanted to know, tell Waziri to explain us on how the disbursement is being done.
Thank you very much, former president, retired but not tired.
Thank you, Bwana Waziri. My name is John Makababu. I only have one question. One, Bwana Waziri, yesterday we were watching Citizen Live, and the Minister of Environment, who is Mr. Ndwale, was asked Mr. Waziri, how much took the State House renovation? Is it 10 billion or 2 billion? And he answered by saying he's not in the position to say how much State House, how much money did they use to renovate State House. Lastly, Bwana Waziri, we have been having a complaint concerning the pending bill, and some of our members, Bwana Waziri, one of them being Mansuk has a pending bill, and he always complains that whenever they go there, he doesn't see Bwana Waziri. So leo tunakuomba Bwana Waziri, now that tuko na one of our member by contract, simu iteremuke atupe ile pending bill yake Bwana Mansuk.
Thank you. Unasemaje?
Asante sana Bwana Waziri. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Willis Mboga. Sorry. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Willis Mboga, Chairman Assembly and Incoming MP for Machoka Church Constituency. Kama chairman nilikuwa nimefungua kidogo, lakini wacha niongee. Number 1, Bwana Waziri, iko kitu inatuumiza kama wa Kenya. Eurobond is a big issue in this country. As much as the government is saying going to pay the Eurobond, what do you want? Number 1, tuko na kesi mahakamani. Statement ya
Mr. Speaker, I think now we are winding up. There is a friend of mine who also came with us here, Morocco, Ebu wakuone. You know Baba while you are away. Thank you. Asante sana. So, I think there is this question around MSMEs. And one of us talked about MSMEs, the micro and micro realities. It is true what we have been talking about is the disconnect between macro figures and micro, what really is in your pockets. And I think this is a topic I have talked about a lot, but I will not tire from repeating that there are a number of reasons why we have these challenges. I have just told you that we are going to make sure that we pay all the pending bills to the MSMEs. That is one way of giving them capacity to move on. Because they are small businesses, if they are not paid, if they are owed money, they are small businesses, They are small businesses. Niongee Kiswahili. Nasema hizi ni biashara ndogo ndogo, wasipolipwa deni zao wanakuwa na shida. Kwa hivyo sisi kama serikali tutaangalia vile tunaweza lipa pesa ya MSMEs, na hiyo ndiyo sababu nimesema bills zote mpaka milioni 10 tutalipa, alafu tutaanza tena sasa kulipa hizo deni zingine. Mr. Chola has talked about waste management. That I can take up with my colleagues under the Ministry of Environment and also the county governments, because I may not address it here on the spot. Ganga, you have talked. About SHA na housing levy. Sana SHA is an insurance. And insurance does not mean that when you pay money for health, that you must fall sick. I don't know who among us would want to, because you have paid your money, now you must go to hospital. Kuna watu wanataka kwenda hospitali. Mimi sitaki, hata nikilipa milioni moja, if I can stay the whole year without going to hospital, the better for me. So SHA is an insurance system. I want us to understand. And by the way, it is not only in Kenya where universal health cover is controversial. It is everywhere. Remember Obamacare. Americans are still fighting whether it is good or bad. So telling you that people will buy SHA 100% is not practical. But what government must do and what we are doing is to deal with those challenges that SHA is confronting. But we are all in agreement. As a country, we need universal health cover. Before you ukuwe na mgonjwa karibu, siku utakuwa na mgonjwa karibu ndio utajua universal health cover is very important. Mimi, kuna watu wameniambia wale wako karibu na mimi, juzi nilipoteza rafiki yangu sana, kijana ambaye amenisupport kutoka 2007. Na siku alikufa, wale wanatoka kwangu wanajua, tulikuwa tunamuita governor. Huyo kijana nilimpeleka mpaka Tenwe, nikapeleka Kisii, Eldoret, ikashindikana. Nikaambiwa, mheshimiwa, mahali imefika, it is stage 4, you can only manage it. I took him to a private hospital nearby because I didn't want to take him home. Akuwe managed. Wakati alikufa on 16th of November, the first question I asked, how much is the bill? When I sent one of the ndugu yake kuangalia, akaniambia, mheshimiwa, hii SHA ni mzuri sana, imelipa bill yote. So what I am saying is SHA may have challenges. It may have challenges, but let us point out those challenges to the CS, to the government, to the PS. And when you point them out, mimi kama mmoja ambaye niko kwa serikali, tutahakikisha hizo challenges zitatuliwe ili hii SHA tusiuwe. By the way, let me tell you, NHIF had reached a point it was not working. Nairobi Hospital, we owe them 663 million as we speak. It is not sustainable. So this system may not be perfect, but we are improving. You just need to give us space. I wish I had time, I would have told you another story, and you would have agreed with me that it is important. Corrupt individuals whose cases are being pushed left, right, and center. You know, that is the problem with democracy. If Kenya was dictatorship, we would... accountable to the people of Kenya. Remember last year we went through in this country something we have never experienced before. We almost had a civil unrest in this country. Why? Because there was perception among Kenyans that they were not being listened to, that nobody was prepared to give them a listening ear. We must do things differently. We must learn. We have learned. I have learned. As the cabinet secretary in charge of national treasury. That is why I have come here to engage with you early enough when the budgeting process is still at its very early stages, so that I can also hear from you a few things. Number one is what the Kenyans consider as priority in their lives. That is very important for us to inform the budgeting process. Number two is what are some of the challenges, especially in terms of taxation and tax measures. When you talk to Kenyans now, what is in the lips of everybody is that we are being overtaxed, and that the resources that we give the government, we don't see the value, that services are not being rendered. I want to engage you today to listen and hear from you. Apart from the challenges, apart from the problem, what do you believe would be the solutions to some of the challenges that we face as a country? Let me just take 2 or 3 minutes to break down a few things. When this government took over in 2022, there were a lot of challenges. One of them, which is very critical, is the issue of public debt and debt servicing costs. This government took over at a time when budget deficit, as per the budget estimates of 2022-23, was 925 billion shillings, which is almost a trillion. Imagine an economy like Kenya borrowing a quarter of its budget every year to finance its activities. Number two, this government took over when already the government was showing signs of defaulting in paying Eurobond. I'm sure you are aware of this, which almost caused economic meltdown in this country. The shilling traded to 160 per dollar because of the signals that were sent to the economy that the government was going to default. And the window had been closed at that time. So that default, even though we avoided it, we must make sure, because going forward, some of you have heard me mention that Kenya, we will only have a breathing space between 2034 and 2048. Why do I say so? Because in 2027, there is going to be a Eurobond of 900 million to be paid in May, on May 22nd. That is the deadline. The following year, 2028, in February, 9 months later, we are paying another Eurobond, 1 billion, which was taken so many years back. Then, that is 2028. 2029 is 1.2. Then 2031, we have 1.5. And then 2034, we have another 1.2. So the only time that we don't have Eurobond to repay is between 2034 and 2040. As a country, if we are responsible in managing our finances, we cannot wait until 2027 to be able to retire or pay some of these debts. If we do so, it will send a wrong signal to the economy, and we will be back to where we were earlier. Let me mention the second thing. The second thing is, where are we now? Are we doing okay? The answer is no. We are not doing okay, but we are better than yesterday. Why do I say we are better than yesterday? There is this rating that has come out from the Moody's. Some people think the Mushene. This is not Mushene. This is factual. But how was this informed? The credit rating is all about the ability of a country to repay its debt. And that can only be assessed from certain parameters, from certain fundamentals. The key fundamental is inflation rate. Our inflation rate has showed signs of coming down. It was 9.6 in October 2022. The prices were increasing. That is what is called inflation. The prices were increasing at the rate of 9.6%. That has come down now to 3.3%. That has given a good indicator to the market. The second one, and I want to move very quickly. The second one, how does government borrow? What is the rate of interest? Remember, just a few months ago when I took over office, we were borrowing at 15.6%. The government was borrowing through treasury bills, the 91-day treasury bill. We were paying 15.6%. Today, as we speak, that has come down to 9.5%, below 10%, single digit for the first time. That has given good indicators that we can be able to borrow money cheaply to retire expensively. Because what we are doing with the domestic borrowing is we are borrowing to repay what we had. So if you are borrowing cheaply to repay an expensive loan, that is the only way you can get out of debt trap. Even at home, if you want to come out of debt, ile fuliza tuanze na Shylock kabla tujaenda fuliza. If you have a Shylock of 30%, you go for fuliza, isn't it? Say fuliza charges you 12%. If you find a friend who can give you the same amount and you only pay 5%, you will borrow that and pay fuliza. That is how domestic borrowing works. Finally, is the issue of foreign exchange. For us to pay loan, external loan, we must pay it in dollars and other hard currencies. So a country must demonstrate that they have enough reserves to pay any loan should it fall due. Now, Kenya for a long time has had only 2 billion, 3 billion US dollars. 2 billion, 3 billion, which is just 1 month cover of imports. Because for us to buy imports, we must pay in hard currency. Right now, we have in the central bank reserves of 9.5 billion USD, which would cover our imports for 4 months, 4.9 months. That's almost 5 months. Now, as I conclude, someone will ask, Mbadi, you are telling us all this. The shilling is stable, yes. All these things you are telling us. Moody has rated you. Where is money in my pocket? I know that was going to come here, to come up here. Mr. Speaker, if I still have a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3, then I call my colleague. It is true that Kenyans are struggling. It is true that economic times are difficult. Even though this government has done something positive in the area of agriculture by encouraging production. Today, we are producing 61 million bags of maize. That is what we produced in 2023, up from 30 million bags a year before. That is double. And we are projecting maize production to be at 74 million bags. That is what will satisfy the population of this country. But even with all that, Kenyans are still feeling they don't have money in their pockets. One of the reasons, there are 3 reasons that I will talk about, and what we are intending to deal with those 3 problems. Problem number 1 is the simple reason that because banks have not been able to give money to the private sector cheaply, private sector has not been borrowing money from the banks to expand their businesses, to create job opportunities. So many of our youth, that is why we have now today 3.4 million Kenyans who are supposed to be working are not working. This is because businesses are not expanding. The government has been borrowing money expensively, and therefore banks also loan money to private sector even more expensively. You have started seeing banks lowering interest rates because of the deliberate efforts taken by government to reduce government borrowing and reduce interest rates so that private sector can borrow money, create job opportunities for many of you. You see, you may be earning the same salary, 100,000. But if your sister is unemployed, your brother is unemployed, they will all depend on your 100. You will not see money in your pocket. The money may not have disappeared from your pocket. It's still there. It is still the same 100. But the mouth is feeding is a lot. Therefore, we must make sure that we create space for employment for more people so that we have more income. Number 2 is the issue of salaries. We brought SHA, we brought housing levy. Is that not correct? It shrunk your pay slips. But there are efforts that we are making to make sure that you don't earn too low before the introduction of SHA and before the introduction of housing levy. Today, when I appeared before national television, I said with the amendments that we did in December, which some people were opposing, it has provided some relief, maybe not 100%, but we have moved towards reducing the burden, the tax burden on your payslip. So when you are told that there is no effort, it is not true. How I wish some of you could just take a calculator and calculate if you are earning 100,000 shillings. Before the amendments that we brought to Parliament, that 100,000 shillings, 4.25% was going to SHA and housing levy, which is 4,250. Now, with the amendments, that amount, the whole of it is not going to government. Because even if you earned that money, 30% was going to be taxed anyway. Today we are saying, if you contribute to SHA and you contribute to housing, the 4,250, it gives you tax relief of 30%. So what you are actually effectively paying is 70% of 4,250, which is 2,970. Now before SHA, there was NHIF, and you are paying 1,700 if you are earning 100,000. So if you remove that from 2,975, you remove 1,700. You remain with 1,270. So someone who is earning 100,000, the only amount you are losing now, which you are not losing before this administration came to power, is 1,275. I am not saying that that is not money. It is. But it is not as big as some people are trying to portray. Because of the amendments we brought, we also brought amendments that if now you retire or you are laid off and you're given your gratuity, it should not be taxed. Now you take your money and go home. Pension is now not taxable. Even if you retire, so long as you retire procedurally, money that you contribute to the health insurance scheme, post-retirement scheme, is also now giving you relief. So there are so many things we are trying to do, and we will do more. Finally, the other reason why Kenyans are complaining is because you supply goods to government and they are not paid. What is called the pending bills. We subjected the pending bills, and this is not the first time we have subjected pending bills in this country to a committee. We have always created committees. For me and the government, we have decided that this time we are going to act on the pending bills that will be certified by that pending bill. Total amount that went to the pending bills committee was 663 billion shillings. They have already analyzed 474 billion shillings worth of bills. Out of that, they have approved for payment 206 million. Worth of pending billion, one of pending bills. I have since, together with my team, analyzed that data. And listen to this. 95% of those invoices, if you count invoices 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 95% of those invoices are people who are supplied goods and services to government of not more than 10 million shillings. From 1 shilling to 10 million. These are small businesses. These are MSMEs. Therefore, we have taken a decision as a government. The president has instructed me that we are going to make sure that we try through the supplementary budget to create space for anybody who supplied anything to government and has not been paid up to 10 million. We pay all of them.